Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 453. For this video I'm going to leave the chess engine off, and there's a couple of tactical quiz opportunities towards the end of the game that are pretty interesting, so I wanted to not have the engine give those away. So anyway, I start off with e4. My opponent plays c5, the Sicilian. I go knight f3, the main move. And he goes e6. So e6 is the third choice here. The top two choices are d6 and knight to c6. This can lead to a couple different lines in the Sicilian, the Taimanov or the Khan. And actually I've been meaning to learn the Khan Sicilian myself, so I was interested to see this line played. So he takes, and I take back. I'm going for the main line, the open Sicilian. You could also have played knight to c3 instead of pushing on with d4 right away. And now he goes a6. So the Taimanov Sicilian is the immediate knight to c6, and a6 is typically introducing the Khan Sicilian. And now the main moves here are bishop to d3, defending the pawn, or knight to c3. I played knight to c3. Interesting thing about bishop to d3, I was aware of this idea. I'd seen this kind of line played before. Puts the bishop on a good post, and with the idea maybe of pushing e5 at some point, and at the same time it undefends the knight on d4. But the knight on d4 is not under attack since knight c6 has not been played. So it's a safe move here. So interesting way to play. And after knight to c3, if black plays knight c6 here, we've transposed back into a line of the Taimanov, but he keeps it in Khan Sicilian lines by playing queen c7. So this really completes the Khan setup in a way. Although no pieces have been developed, it is kind of a funny setup where there's no minor pieces developed, only the queen and the pawns have been moved. But it does keep an eye on the e5 square, so it prevents the immediate pawn push to e5. And now I played bishop d3, which is the main move here, and taking advantage of that idea as I explained earlier. And now black can play knight f6, and that is the main move. If I want to get in the move e5, I'll have to prepare it in some way, because at the moment the queen can just take it off. My opponent instead played knight c6, which is a second choice there, so a reasonable way to play. And now probably best for white is just to keep developing and defend the knight with bishop e3. Instead I took, which is second choice here. It's not a terrible move, but I think developing the bishop is better. And my opponent took back with the b pawn. This is an interesting way to play. This is black is playing for some imbalances in the position. He can push forward and have a majority of pawns in the center, and to attain that he's sacrificed his development. So he's got a lot of pieces on the back rank still. But it turns out you can get away with this. So I castle here, and he goes in with d5. And now there's a little tactical trick in this position that I missed out on. I should, and the top choice in the database is to either play rook e1 or queen e2, put something on the e file, and set up an indirect pin on this pawn on e6. And that immediately threatens actually to win the pawn on d5 here. So if you imagine that I put a rook here, and black did some nothing move that doesn't defend d5, then I'm really threatening to take. Pawn takes, knight takes, and he can't take back with his e-pawn because of the pin. So that's the best way to play it. It's sort of like, you're developing a piece and you're developing with tempo because it comes with a threat. Instead I just took, which is okay. I mean, I'm not giving up a huge advantage here, but not the best way to play it. And then at this point, I should once again play rook to e1, pinning this pawn and threatening to take on d5. It's just another variation of that same idea. Instead, I tried to develop my bishop, but it's hard to find a good square for it at the moment. And so really, rook e1 is the only way for white to try and keep an advantage. Anyway, I get my bishop out. He goes bishop e7, and gradually black is unwinding. If black can complete his development, then he'll have an advantage because he'll have the majority of the pawns in the center. So that's why it's important for white to try and throw in some moves that'll make it awkward for black to continue his development. So this way I'm playing is no challenge to black, basically. Now right here he should probably continue with knight f6, kicking my queen, but he played the funny move g6. I don't really understand this idea, but well, maybe there were some tactics. He was worried about bishop to yeah, I don't understand it. I just don't understand what that move was about. Okay, anyway, at this point I decided to trade off the bishops. Probably still once again rook to e1 would have been a better way to play it. Queen takes. And then I drop my queen back to g3. I was thinking, well, I get my queen on these dark squares here. He's created some dark squared weaknesses, and maybe bring my knight over here and attack on the king side. So that's kind of my long-term plan here. Black is still finishing his development. I'm bringing my rook to the e-file finally. And but now there's no threat to the d pawn. Notice this pawn is securely defended by the bishop. And after knight f6, even the knight is defending it. So black is in fine shape here. I bring my other rook to the center, which is good. He goes rook to d8. And I go knight to e2, starting to bring my knight over to the king's side. So my play has been okay so far, or in this section anyway. He goes knight to, let's see, he castled, it's my turn. I go knight to d4. Maybe not the most direct way to get what I want, but I was trying to figure out how to get my knight to this square, and I eventually managed to do that. Anyway, he goes queen c4, hitting the knight, and I get my knight over to f3, and then rook f to e8. So both our rooks are opposing each other, and I have an okay position here. The engine is recommending the move c3 as the best way to try and hold down the advance of his center pawns, and I think that's a good way to play. Let's see, I tried knight to g5, just going simply for the direct kingside attack, but he can defend this. First he tries queen d6, offering a trade of queens. I want to avoid that and keep my attacking chances. Goes king g7. Now he's got room to bring his rook over here to the h-file. I lift my rook, so I'm just continuing in this plan, and already he has a pretty strong move in e5, advancing his pawns here, but he throws in rook h8, defending, and well, the chess engine thinks I'm okay if I double my rooks here or play queen to d4, pinning his knight. Likes white in that position, but I play this move rook f3, and this is a mistake, which actually now black takes advantage of. He starts mobilizing his pawns. He plays this move e5 with the tempo because it involves a threat to to fork these pieces. And now I go bishop c4 to escape the threat and try and put some pressure on the center. And actually this move is a big mistake. Let's go on. He plays the correct response here, h6, kicking my knight back. So right here, this is your first tactical quiz opportunity. This is kind of a deep one, but see if you can spot the best move for black in this position. Okay, yeah, pause the video if you want some time to think about it. It's a pretty interesting sequence. I'm going to give the answer away now. What he can do is he can actually take the bishop. Something I really didn't consider at all during the game. His queen is under attack, I take it. And when his rook takes back, it's a double threat now. He's threatening to checkmate me, and he's threatening this rook winning the exchange. So if I were to play, let's see, the engine is recommending king to h1 as the best way to play this. Now the rook comes here to check, driving my knight back, and then he grabs the exchange. And if we stop to count the material at this point, it's actually even pawns, 6 pawns to 6 pawns, but he has 2 rooks for the queen, which are maybe a slight material advantage. And but on top of that, he's got this pin on the knight, which is very difficult, and he's messed up my king side. So black has a winning position here. So sacrificing his queen for for some minor pieces, and well, he got both my rooks. That's what happened. It wasn't a rook and a piece. It was 2 rooks for the queen and an attack on the king. So, and then if I go the other way, let's see, in this position, if I go to f1 to escape the check, I probably would have played that. Apparently this is even worse. Rook to d1 check, forces the king out. And then bishop takes f3 check. And now I could take with either the king or the pawn. Looks like taking with the pawn is losing immediately. Let's see why that is. Pawn takes rook h to d8. So I guess the threats against the king over here are too serious. He's now flushed my king out of the pocket, as it were, chased my king to the center of the board, and I'm in big trouble here. Huh. Okay, and from a material point of view, like I said, he even has a slight material edge as well as the attack. And let's see, if I take with the king, which is the recommended move, then he can just play a simple move like rook to c8, holding on to the c-pawn, which was under attack by the queen, and then just keeping me kind of boxed up over here. He's just got a great position. Look, my pieces are all kind of tangled over on the king side. My king is exposed, and his king is completely safe. And like I said, he even has more material as well as an attack. So that would be winning. So right here, just taking the bishop is the move. Instead, he played g5, kicking the queen. And now here's your second quiz, and this one is an easy one. So that one was difficult, but this is easy. What should white play here? Okay, I'm going to give the answer away. Pause the video and figure it out if you haven't yet. I can just take this pawn. I don't know why I didn't play this. This is pretty obvious. I come in here with the check, and the king has nowhere to go, and his knight is under fire, so I'm immediately winning the knight back. And in fact, if the king goes to h7, then I'm mating with rook to h3 check. There's a mate in 3 there. So the king really has to go here. And then I come in with the rook. I get my material back. I've won 2 pawns. I'm chasing his queen around, and I have time to save my bishop. So I really should have spotted that one. So those are 2 interesting tactical moments back to back. Anyway, I move my queen back to g3. And, well, black still has the advantage here. He still has ideas of taking the bishop, which he ignores. He pushes on with the z-pawn. And finally here, I trade queens. I'm pretty much forced to. Rook takes. And I play a bad move here. Rook b3 is a mistake. And I mentioned this one in the game, so I won't bother to do the quiz here. But there's a good tactic for black right in this position, which is he can just take this bishop. It's a double threat. It wins a piece, and he's threatening this rook, and he's threatening this rook with mate. So I have to take, and then he grabs the other rook. So we got a rook and a bishop for a rook, so that just wins a piece, and he's in good shape there. So I spotted that one, but not till after I put the rook on b3. So really this is just a bad position for the rook, and always look out for these double pawn munches. They're very can be very interesting tactics. Okay, he didn't spot that. He played rook b8. And now finally the game is winding down a bit. I drop my bishop back to e2. He pushes on with d4. He still has an advantage with these strong pawns, but he slips up in a minute or two. Let's back up. Where were we? Let's see. He played d4. I went king f1, and he went king g6. So a bit more active would be to, well, one suggestion is to drop the rook back so that this bishop is unpinned. He needs to kind of reorganize his forces, take a minute to reorganize his forces, and then he can push forward with the pawns. The other idea was the knight to d7, so the f-pawn could come forward. So he has also protecting his rook here and freeing up his bishop. So he has some good moves here. This king g6, though, is not really to the point. So I go rook b4 now, given a little bit of time. I start counterattacking his center, and he has to do something about it. He chooses to push on. And now that I have been able to dissolve this center, I'm okay here. Rook takes d3 and takes. I take back with check, and the king has to go back anyway, so the king on g6 just wasn't contributing at all. And now I drop my rook back to b3. There was a threat in this position of bishop takes g2, hitting my king with check, so winning the rook, so I needed to deal with that. And now he goes knight to d5, and I play the final move of the game. I play bishop takes a6, and he resigned. But, well, here's your last technical quiz. Should black have resigned in this position? This is not too hard, so pause the video and think about it till you get the answer. The answer is black is winning in this position. He just has the move bishop takes a6. He can just take that because it's with check. So that just wins the rook. I have to move the king. It wins the bishop, rather. And now, let's see, the engine is recommending, rather than trading rooks, keeping the rook on. And he's just a piece up. I have 2 pawns over here. But, well, that's not enough compensation. So black should go on to win that game. So anyway, in this position after bishop takes a6, my opponent resigned. So the chess moral is you should not trust your opponent's calculations. Your opponent may have played this move, bishop to a6, very confidently, thinking he was winning. But, well, you can't rely on your opponent's confidence. You have to make up your own mind and spot the flaws in your opponent's thinking. And right here, there was a big flaw. So that's the way it goes. But anyway, I managed to win in this position through resignation of my opponent. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.